The men are the providers, the protectors, the maintainers. They're responsible over the women by what Allah has chosen some of them over others and by what they spend from their wealth. Women, ya ikhwan, no one did their homework. None of our sisters, none of our mothers did their homework. Sorry. Only one of our mothers. طيب فذكرنا هذا يدل على أن الرجال فوق النساء في الشأن. We mentioned that this verse shows that the men, the husbands, are above the women in regards to position. With regards to position. ولا يدل على أن المرأة تسجد أو تعبد الزوج أو تعبد الزوج أو تسجد للزوج. لا. And we mentioned that this verse does not show that the woman, she worships her husband or she prostrates to her husband. لا. هذا في الشأن فقط. This is only talking about in status or in position. الرجل فوق المرأة الزوج فوق الزوجة في الشأن. That the man is above the wife in position. It doesn't show that he's above her religiously. لا. ماذا الاعتبار التقوى ليس الجنس. So that the litmus test is the fear of Allah, not the jinn of the person. ربما المرأة تكون أعلى من الرجل. ربما العكس. ربما الأبيض يكون أعلى من الأسود. ربما العكس. ربما العرب يكون فوق غير العرب. وربما العكس. Perhaps a woman is elevated higher than the man with regards to her piety, her fear of Allah. And perhaps the opposite. The man is above the woman with regards to his righteousness and piety of Allah. Perhaps the black man can be more is a white man based upon his fear of Allah. And perhaps the opposite. The white man can be above the black man with regards to his fear of Allah. And the Arab can be above the non-Arab with regards to his fear of Allah. And also the opposite. Our sister says it is an honor for the woman and the protection that the husband goes out into the world, seeks provision for the family. Na'am, ahsant, wa hadha sahih. And that's correct. May Allah bless you. طيب ذكرنا صفة عظيمة للمرأة, and we mentioned a tremendous quality that the woman has. Namely, she knows it or not. She may not know how to utilize it, but she has it. هذا منها من ربها. Allah Ta'ala has given her this from her Lord. Allah Ta'ala has given her this. Quality, who can mention? We mentioned the quality that Allah has bestowed upon the women. Allah Ta'ala has bestowed upon the women. Who remembers? Only one of our mothers did the homework this week. Mention the tremendous quality that the woman has. Our sister Selma, she has that ease, that calmness. Allahu Akbar. وهذا من قول الله تعالى. And we mentioned 2 verses of homework, and we gave the women at least one of the verses to memorize and to write 10 times. Inshallah. طيب. إحداهما في سورة الروم والثانية في سورة الأعراف. And the first of these homework was in Surah Al-Rum, and the second was in Surah Al-A'raf. فعلى المرأة أن تحفظ آية من هاتين الآيتين هي تريد. And the woman can memorize, or she had the honor to memorize, which any of the one of these 2 verses she wished. our sister, she says, it helps in preserving of one's chastity and purity. MashaAllah. هذا صحيح. من فوائد النكاح, from the virtues of marriage. MashaAllah. Another one of our sisters did the homework also. Alhamdulillah. قال الإمام الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى ومنها حصول السكن والأنس بين الزوجين وحصول الرحمة النفسية. He says another benefit of marriage, and we mentioned this also, this is a recap, a review, is the obtaining of the ease and the calmness and the camaraderie between the spouses. The obtaining of the mercy of the soul, the rahat nafsiyya, not the mercy, the calmness, the stillness of one's soul, not in one's body, not in the body, but in his soul. Ar-rahatu, ar-rahatu an-nafsiyya. Memorize his word, ya akhwan. Ar-rahatu an-nafsiyya. The calmness of nafs, of one's inner, their being, their soul. Ar-rahatu an-nafsiyya. Not of the body, not like you're working out and then you relax, you put your feet up, not like that. Ar-rahatu an-nafsiyya, the calmness of one's nafs, of one's soul. هذا من أغراض النكاح. This is from the virtues of marriage. Ar-rahatu an-nafsiyya, the calmness of one's soul. Allahu Akbar. فهذه فائدة عظيمة. This is a tremendous virtue. هذا لا يدل على أن من إلى الآخر ستقع المشكلة، ستقع الفتنة، سيقع الجدال. لا خلاف. So this does not mean that from time to time there's not going to be some differences within the marriage. There's not going to be some tests and trials within the marriage. There's not going to be some argumentation within the marriage. There's no contradiction here. ولكن هذا من أغراض النكاح. But this is from the virtues of the marriage, the goal of the marriage. عندما الرجل مثلا يكون عزبا وكأنه يعيش حياة بهيمية وعندما يتزوج سكنت حياته. فهذا من أغراض النكاح. Usually when the man is single, he lives a life of an animal, bahima. And then all of a sudden he gets married and you see a change. Now he's easy, he's calm, he's relaxed. Because now sakanat al-haya. Now his life has become still, ease, calm. وكذلك المرأة, likewise the woman. كأنها تعيش وتعيش حياة ماذا؟ الحيوان. حياة البيت وتتزوج فكأنها تغيرت تماما. لماذا؟ سكنت حياتها. Likewise the woman, she's single, her life is all over the place, she's living the life of an animal, a wild animal, and then Allah Ta'ala allows her to marry, and now you see a change from her immediately. Now, why is that change? Because her life is rahatu nafsiyya. She has the calmness of the soul. She has the ease. Her soul is tranquil. قال الإمام Al-Fawzaan حفظه الله تعالى. Then the Imam goes on to mention statement of ومن آياتي أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتكونوا إليها. Surah Rum. As Allah Ta'ala, He says, and from His signs, meaning the signs of Allah, is that He, meaning Allah, created for you from your own selves spouses and mates, so that you, the men, can live with them, can be with them, can find with them calmness and ease. فأنا أرجو أن جميعنا نحفظ هذه الآية عاما وخاصة جميعنا وخاصة النساء. So we hope that all of us memorize this verse, generally and specifically. Generally, every Muslim. Specifically, the women. طيب. فهذه الآية يخبرنا الله تعالى أنه خلق لنا من أنفسنا أزواجا وهذا من آيات الله. The first benefit of this verse, I think we mentioned this last class, Allah is informing the believer that Him Ta'ala created for us mates from our. The man marries from himself, meaning a woman. The woman marries from herself, meaning a man. Allah says this is a sign from Allah's signs. Allahu Akbar. ثم ذكر لتسكنوا إليها. Then He says, so that you, the men, can find this ease and tranquility with the woman. فهذه صفة منها أو فيها من الله. So this quality of having this calmness and this ease and this mercy, the woman already has it. Allah has given it to her. He created her with it. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. This does not mean, in a weak translation, so that you can live with her. No. The word sakana, write this down, oh my beloved mother. The word sakana has many meanings. Yeah, هذا صحيح. That's correct. Sakana has many meanings. We'll give you two of them. Sakana means to live, to dwell. That's it. To live, to dwell, to reside, to reside. طيب كذلك سكن يطمئن. It also means to be easy, to be still, to be calm. This is the meaning in the verse. Sakana also means to be calm, to be in a state of ease, to have this tranquility, be ease, or to be in a state of ease, to be in a state of ease, be tranquil. So here, Allah is not meaning it so that you can live with her. No. So that you can have this ease with her. The ha goes back to the woman. So this tranquility is naturally inside of the woman. The ease and this itma'nina is inside of the woman. Every woman has it. She may not know she has it. She may not benefit from it. You not benefit from it. But she has it. The proof she has it is the likes of this verse. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So that you can have this ease with her. You can find this tranquility with her. The ila ilayha goes back to her. Allahu Akbar. To the wife, the spouse. طيب. درسنا اليوم مواصلة من هذا الباب. Today's class is a continuation in this lesson, inshallah. طيب قال الإمام الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى إلى غير ذلك من المصالح العظيمة التي تترتب على النكاح الشرعي الشريف النظيف القائم على كتاب الله وسنة رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام. So he mentioned other virtues. We only some of them. He says, from and also other than those benefits, those great benefits that the legislative marriage is arranged or is connected to. The legislative marriage of nobility and cleanliness, that which stands upon the book of Allah and the sunnah of his messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam. Alayhi salatu wasalam. طيب ثم قال النكاح عقد شرعي. So this is the first part of tonight's homework. He says marriage is a legal contract. So we're going to write ما هو النكاح. What I want you to write is this. What is marriage? What is it? I'm going to write down ما هو النكاح. What is marriage? ما هو النكاح? What is marriage? What is marriage? ما هو النكاح? قال الإمام الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى النكاح عقد شرعي يقتضي حل استمتاع كل من الزوجين بالآخر. So it gives one of the best definitions that a Muslim can learn. He says, what is marriage? And then he says, nikah, it is عقد شرعي يقتضي كل أو يقتضي حل استمتاع كل من الزوجين بالآخر. It is one of the simplest, humblest meanings of marriage. زوجين من الآخر. It says, ما هو النكاح? What is marriage? So what I want you to write is marriage is عقد شرعي يقتضي حل استمتاع كل من الزوجين من الآخر أو بالآخر. نعم بالآخر. نعم من الآخر بالآخر. Right. So marriage is a contract. That's something that many of us forget. It's a contract. The contract that allows each of the two parties to enjoy each other. It's a contract that allows both the husband and the wife to enjoy each other. So we're going to write it's a legislative, not any contract, no, legislative contract that allows each party, meaning the husband and wife, to enjoy each other. وهذا من أعظم تعريف النكاح. This is from the best definitions of marriage. What is it? You're going to write for homework. I want you to write this 10 times for homework. For those that can write in Arabic, I want you to write in Arabic. For those that level yet, you write in English. You're going to write, it's a legislative contract that allows each party, the husband and the wife, to enjoy each other. To enjoy each other. This is the first part of tonight's homework, 10 times. طيب ماذا نستفيد من هذا? So what do we benefit from this definition? ماذا نستفيد؟ ماذا نستفيد من هذا? What do we benefit from this definition? طيب الفائدة benefit number one. Benefit number one. أن النكاح عقد شرعي. Benefit number one. Marriage is a legislative contract. That's the first benefit. First thing we benefit here is that marriage is a legislative contract. النكاح عقد شرعي. عقد شرعي. First benefit here from my sister to right, my brother to right, is that marriage is a legislative contract. That's number one. Nikah عقد شرعي. Not any contract. No, it's legislative. Allahu Akbar. First benefit. Marriage is a legislative contract. Benefit. طيب والعقد بين من? So the contract is between who? العقد بين ثلاثة. The contract is between who? How many people share in this contract? The contract is between three. The contract is between three. And it's a sidebar benefit. العقد هنا عقد النكاح بينك. How many people is the contract between? Or how many, rather, is the contract between? Meaning the marriage contract. How many people or how many entities share within this contract? It says the husband, the wife, and Allah. The husband, the wife, and Allah. وهذا صحيح, and that's correct. Here is between three. Between Allah, الزوج, الزوجة. But the contract is between three. every marriage contract counting 3 people. Yes, yes, you have a wali. Yes, you have a wakil. Oh yeah. The main contract is between 3: Allah, the husband, and the wife. Wife, husband, and Allah. وهذا عظيم عندما الرجل المرأة العكس المرأة تغضب على الزوج. In this one concept is imperative to understand, especially when the man gets mad or angry with the wife, or the opposite. The wife gets angry with the man. وهذا سيقع. This is going to happen. لابد من الجدال، لابد من اختلاف، لابد من إشكالات، لابد من فتن، لابد من امتحانات، لابد. It's a must that we're going to get tested and tried. It's a must you're going to differ. It's a must you're going to get offended. It's a must you're going to become sad. It's a must you're going to become angry. It's a must, it's a must, it's a must. ولكن إذا المرأة تستحضر هذه القاعدة أو العبد الرجل يستحضر هذه القاعدة يستفيد كثيرا. However, if at the time that the person is mad or sad or angry, the man reflects, the woman takes a breath and remembers this principle. The contract is between 3. It's not just me and you. If it's me and you, no problem. But it's between 3. الزوج, الزوجة, Allah. Between the man, the husband, the wife, and Allah. وهذا يسكن الأمر. And the likes of this, understanding this one concept, is going to bring ease to the situation. Even when you're mad, even when you're sad, even when you want to take, or you need a moment. Oh, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Alhamdulillah. However you handle your issue, no problem. But you reflect on this principle. It's not just 2 of us. It's not just me. It's not just you. No, it's between the husband, the wife, and Allah. Between the husband, the wife, and Allah. طيب. Next benefit of, we have one benefit so far. First benefit of the definition said, first benefit of the definition is marriage legislative contract. Second benefit, يجوز الاستمتاع كل من الآخر. Benefit number 2, it's allowed for both parties to enjoy each other. It's allowed. يجوز الاستمتاع من كل من الزوجين. That both parties can benefit or each other. من الزوجين. Sonia, put your mute on until you speak. When you speak, unmute yourself. يجوز الاستمتاع. Everyone put their mute on. من كل من الزوجين. It's allowed, or you could say recommended. It's allowed for each party to enjoy the other one. The husband enjoys the wife. The wife enjoys the husband. From Islam, part of the meaning of a marriage contract is that you enjoy one another. In a legislative manner, of course, but the point, you can enjoy each other. The allowance of both parties to enjoy each other. Not in their own way. No, religiously. It's legislatively legislated, of course. Has to be from the religion, allowed in the religion, recommended. Nah, but the can enjoy each other. Nah. And this is the point. All right. Our sister says the husband, wife, and Allah. Now, all right. Yeah. القسم الثاني من الواجبات. Second part of tonight's homework. حفظ الحديث الأول. Memorizing the first hadith of tonight. Second part of tonight's homework. We have one part, the definition. And the next part is our first hadith. It's a tremendous hadith. But our sisters, before you read the hadith, you have to humble yourself firstly. Our sisters have to humble themselves firstly. And likewise the men, secondly. لأن كثيرا منا لا يفهم معنى هذا الحديث. Because many of us don't understand the meaning of this hadith. Our brother, he says, would this count for any other woman that embark on the path like polygamy? As far as what? The contract? Would the contract count? It's every time a person gets married, what he's doing is entering herself into a legislative contract that allows both parties to enjoy one another. No, our brother says great class. May Allah bless you. So any contract, any marriage contract, the two people involved is actually three of them. Husband, wife, their Lord. Lord, husband, wife. Wife, husband, Lord. Right? It's not just a wife. If that's the case, she can do whatever she wishes. It's not just a man. If it was just him, he could do whatever he wants. It's not just both of them. If it was both of them, they could do whatever they want. It's not like that. It's both of them and Allah. That's why it's so important to look for the woman that has some sense of iman, some sense of honor, some sense of knowledge, some sense of manners. Likewise, the man. You look for the man that has some sense of knowledge, some sense of good character. It's not always his wealth. That's our women in the West, most of our women. Question number one in the sit down, if you call it the sit down, the sis is going to say most of the time, how much money you have. Question number one. Money is important, yes. ولكن يوجد ما هو أهم من المال. But it's things that are there that are greater than wealth. Way greater. Way greater. And that's why the Prophet mentioned them. One narration that comes to our mind in the meaning, the Messenger of Allah says in the Sahih, in the meaning of the hadith, if someone comes to marry your women, talking to the men, the fathers and the wakil and the wali, and you're pleased with his character and religion. ذكر اثنين, he mentions two. You're pleased with their character and their religion. And he comes to marry your women. He has good character, according to what you see, and knowledge, religion, according to what you see. The Messenger of Allah says, then marry them all off. And if you don't, I fear corruption in the land. ما ذكر شيئا من المال. He didn't mention anything about wealth. Anything about husnu jamal. Nothing about the parents. How handsome, how pretty is the girl. That has its place, if you want to say that. But it's a small, narrow place. But character, religion, knowledge, that place is vast. Most of the men that have wealth treat their families like crap. Most of the women that have wealth treat their families like crap. No, but knowledge, character, even if you don't have no wealth, usually you're going to be honorable. You're going to be notable. You're going to treat your family with righteous, with karam and nobility, even when you're mad, even when you're offended. You're not going to disrespect, because you know it's between you, the wife, and Allah. The woman that has good character, even when she gets upset and sad and offended and depressed and hurt and down, she's still not going to disrespect. Why? Because you know it's three of them: her, the husband, and Allah. So from the most two affairs the Prophet mentioned, good character and religion. You're pleased with that man's character, that man's religion. You're pleased with this woman's character, her religion. Alhamdulillah. What else is there? طيب. قال الإمام الفوزان كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. He says, just as the Messenger of Allah, he mentions an authentic hadith. Now remember, علينا أن نفهم هذا الحديث قبل أن نحفظه. So remember, we have to understand this hadith before we memorize it, before we write it down. We have to understand it first. Many of the men, we don't understand this hadith. Many of the women, we don't understand, or they don't understand this hadith. طيب. قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام استوصوا بالنساء خيرا فإنهن عوان عندكم. الحديث. The Messenger of Allah, he says, be kind, treat your women kindly. Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra. Treat your women good. Treat them kind. Treat them lovely. For they are like, and this is the point that we misunderstand, or the main point we misunderstand. فَإِنَّهُنَّ عَوَانٍ عِنْدَكُمْ. For very like, or to you. Awan is not a slave, not a captive, but it's lesser than that. She's not your servant. She's not under you like a prisoner. No, but it's close to that. She's not your prisoner, not your servant. No, but she's an awan in indakum. She's real close to you, sacred to you, close, but not like a prisoner. So many people think, oh, there it is. I treat you any way I wish. You're my servant. No, this does not mean servant. You may say like, you could say that, but it's not a servant. She's under you, but not like you're her master, not like that. Many of us misunderstand this hadith. This hadith does not show that above you, so I'm your master. No. You're above her because you're responsible, because you spend on her. You protect her, you teach her, you maintain her to the best of your ability, but not that she's your servant. So you're going to write down this hadith for tonight. Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra. First hadith. Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra. Allahu Akbar. فإنهن عوان عندكم. Right? Be kind or be good. Be kind, good, notable to your women. The intent with women here is wife. Yes, all women, but the intent here is the women, the wives, the wives. Bin nisa'i khayra. Treat the women, be good to the women. Treat them good in a good manner. فإنهن no, they should be there. إنهن عوان عندكم. For indeed, they are like, I want to say like captives, but they are under you. You're responsible for them. Treat the women. The intent here with women is wives, although it's not restricted to wives. With goodness. For indeed, they, the women, are you. You're responsible. You're over them. The man is going to be questioned about his woman. The woman is not about the man. She's going to be questioned about her treatment, how she was, her responsibility, but she's not going to be questioned about him. That's her actions. He is either your Jannah or your hellfire, meaning how you treat him, how you deal with him, how you are with him. But how he is doesn't necessitate your Jannah or your nar. La. In what book and number is this hadith? طيب هذا الحديث is from من عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص من عمرو بن العاص عمرو ابن العاص ابن عفوا عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص عمرو بن الأحوص. نعم عمرو ابن الأحوص. Collected in Ibn Majah في سنن Ibn Majah, a collection that many of us skip, collected by Imam Ibn Majah. From Ibn Ahwas. So this hadith once again just shows the status that a man has over a woman. It doesn't mean he's her master, la. Doesn't mean she's his servant, la. Just shows status. The man is responsible for the woman, like the verse. It also the commandment to be kind to your women. It's hadith number 1851. Hadith number in the collection of the Shaik here. Hadith number 1851. 1851. It's also collected by Imam At-Tirmidhi. It's also collected by Imam At-Tirmidhi. In his Sunan. Also Imam At-Tirmidhi. Hadith number 3096. 3096. So two places, Ibn Majah, 1851, and At-Tirmidhi, 3096. At-Tirmidhi, 3096. No, also in At-Tirmidhi, sorry. طيب قال الإمام وفي رواية, there's another variation of this hadith also. There's another narration. He says وفي رواية, another variation of the hadith. The Messenger of Allah says, "Istahlaltum furujahunna bi kalimatillah." Now, this hadith may be hard to translate. He says, "Istahlaltum furujahunna bi kalimatillah." So he says, make, or you talking to the men, you benefit from them in the halal manner by making their private parts halal bi kalimatillah, by the word of Allah, meaning in marriage. Istahlaltum furujahunna bi kalimatillah. So you make their private parts halal bi kalimatillah, by the word of Allah, meaning by marriage. So marriage, once again, is a contract that you can benefit from each other. Now you're halal for each other. You are entered yourselves into a legislative contract in the sight of Allah that allows you the right to benefit from each other. So the hadith for homework is the hadith of Amr ibn Ahwas, collected by Ibn Majah and At-Tirmidhi. How much time here, Quran? All right, let's take a little more benefit, inshallah. طيب قال الإمام الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى وعقد النكاح ميثاق بين الزوجين. He says, so the contract of marriage, the covenant between two parties, meaning the husband and the wife. The contract is a covenant between two parties, meaning the husband and the wife. قال الله تعالى وأخذنا منكم ميثاقا غليظا. Allah Ta'ala says, and we have taken from you a heavy, a weighty covenant. Surah An-Nisa. فهو عقد يوجب على كل من الزوجين نحو الآخر الوفاء. So he says, this contract is binds or makes obligatory upon both parties to fulfill their covenant to each other. Allah Ta'ala, he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil'uqud. Surah Al-Ma'idah. O you who believe, then fulfill your covenants. Alright, so we'll stop here, inshallah. If any of our mothers have any mention, or likewise any of their brothers, and we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala. So you have two pieces of homework, the hadith and a definition, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and the video will be uploaded on the YouTube as soon as it's done, inshallah ta'ala. فإذا ما عندكم شيء نكتفي بهذا. If you don't have anything to mention, we'll stop here. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Our sister said, covenant is broken for some reason. How do you repair the covenant between the husband and the wife? If the covenant is broken for some reason, how do you repair the covenant? That would depend on what part of the covenant is broken. If the people, for example, have contracts with, not contracts, they have conditions within their marriage contract. For example, then this is something that's very delicate and very detailed and also very dangerous. Sometimes when the husband and wife comes together, in addition to the general marriage contract, they will have conditions within their contracts. The man may say, well, my contract is, the woman may say, for example, I'll tell you, the man may say, from my contract is that you can never work outside the home. The man adds in his marriage contract, he adds. In addition to those ayat Allah mentions, in addition to those hadith the Prophet of Allah mentions, the man says, I have another condition. And this condition is that as my wife, you can never work outside the home. You can work, but you can't work outside the home. So the woman says yes. Okay, she accepts his term. The man has one term. He says, you can work. You want to get extra money? You want to help the family out? You want extra money for your pocket? No problem. But you can't work outside the house. She says, yes, I accept. And then 2 years later, she gets a job at Walmart. So now she breached the contract, or part of the contract. That was his condition. So she breaks the condition. So it appears that she broke the condition. She breached the condition. That marriage is broken. The man and the woman have a contract. The woman says, I'll marry you. For the first 2 years, you can't take. You have to be married to me and me only for 2 years. After the second year, you can marry who and how many you wish, according to Islam. The man says, Naam, I agree. So she stipulated a condition. She binded him in a condition. He accepts. 7 months into the marriage, 6 months into the marriage, however amount of time, before the 2 years, the man marries. Her condition of the marriage was what? You don't marry for 2 years. The man breaks the condition. It appears he broke the condition. The marriage is broken. So it depends on what you actually mean. Our sister says, for example, and is there a tawbah that needs to be made? Now, every time you violate a covenant, every time you violate a prohibition from Allah, every time you violate a covenant can be something between two parties. It may not be something Allah has made you promise or make a vow to. That's why many scholars, they say not to promise. They say not to promise. Promise is something that it wasn't obligatory on you before that. Now it becomes obligatory because you made it obligatory on you. Whether it's between you and Allah or you and the creation. A man says, oh Allah, if you give me this brand new car, the man, he wants a new car. He says, oh Allah, oh Allah, I promise, I make a covenant with you that every morning I'm going to pray 2 rak'ah before Fajr. And every night I'm going to pray 3 rak'ah before I go to sleep. If you give me this new car. So now he binded himself with the condition between him and Allah that wasn't obligatory upon him before that. So now Allah gives him the new car. What happens now? Now it's obligatory upon him now to pray 2 rak'ah every morning and to pray 3 rak'ah every night before he goes to sleep. But before this covenant, that wasn't obligatory. It's not obligatory to pray 2 rak'ah before Fajr. It's recommended. It's not obligatory to pray 3 rak'ah before you go to sleep after Isha. It's recommended. But now the man binds himself to do this. So that becomes obligatory. So many of the ulama say, no, between you and Allah, just do it. Don't bind yourself in a covenant that's not a covenant upon you to do. Don't make it obligatory upon you. No. You want to pray 2 rak'ah? Just pray 2 rak'ah. Alhamdulillah. Get those good deeds. You want to pray 3 rak'ah before you go to sleep? Allahu Akbar. But don't make it binding. So likewise with the marriage, it depends on the covenant. So our sister is saying, for example, if it's a covenant between the man and the woman, every covenant that you violate, yes, you have to make a tawbah. Because remember, in the marriage is three entities. The husband, the wife, Allah. The wife, the husband, Allah. It's 3 entities. So the wife violates something from the marriage, She's violating their rights between them two and between Allah. If the man violates something between the marriage, he's violating between him and the wife and between Allah. It's three entities. That's why we mentioned, if you understand this, Allahu Akbar. Husband, wife, Allah. Wife, husband, Allah. So he violates something from her. He has to repent to Allah. And then he should seek her pardon. Because it's between three of them. Allah, husband, wife. Allah, wife, husband. If the wife violates part of the covenant, depending on what it is, she repents to Allah. And she should seek the pardon of the husband. Because it's three. Husband, wife, Allah. But some conditions you really have to be careful, because if there's a breach of the condition, then what the condition or what stands on the condition falls. If you have a table and you knock down one of the legs, the table stands on the legs. The conditions are the legs. The table is the marriage. If you knock down one of the legs of the table collapses. It's going to fall. Because you knock down the thing that holds it up. The conditions hold it up. You take away one of the conditions, the table falls. The marriage is the table. The conditions are the legs. People make conditions, they have to be careful. They have to understand, if you violate, if the conditions are breached, what stands on the conditions falls. So anything into a contract, and you're going to add other conditions that I mentioned, other conditions that the Prophet didn't mention, you have to be careful. Number one, it has to be allowed. Number two, if it is allowed, you have to ask yourself, if this is breached, what I'm saying is that the marriage is breached. The marriage is on top of the conditions. The conditions support the marriage. If you remove the conditions, the marriage collapses. Then the question comes, what about if you ask for a covenant that is not allowed? Is it binding on you to do that? The scholars differ. If it's something that is haram for you to ask, most scholars say it's not upon you to fulfill it, because you didn't even have the right to. Other scholars say no. Since you fulfilled it, although it wasn't allowed, you still get yourself into a covenant. You are binded. It's on you to complete it. For example, the man marries a woman, and the woman says, إذا أنت تريد أن تتزوج بي لا يمكنك أن تتزوج فوقي. فهذا لا يجوز لها أولا. So the woman says to the man, okay, you want to marry me? He says yes. She says, my condition is that you can never, ever, ever take on another wife. Ever. That's my only condition. Firstly, she does not have the right to make that condition. That's number one. هذا أصل في الأصل أصلا لا يجوز لها أن تقول هذا. هذا الأصل. Originally, Islamically, she does not have that right to make that condition. That's number one. But she does it anyway. She doesn't have that right, but she does it. يقول الزوج يقول رجل نعم أنا وافق. The man that wants to marry her, he says, yes, I agree. السؤال هل عليه الوفاء لهذا العقد لهذا الميثاق. The next question is, what she's asking, she doesn't have the right, but she asks so anyway. The man says yes. Is it binding upon him to fulfill that or not? يختلف العلماء إلى قولين. The scholars differ into two opinions. الأول ليس عليه لماذا؟ لأن هذا الشرط لا يكون في الإسلام. The first point of view from the people of knowledge is that the man is not binded to fulfill that. Why? Because that's not allowed for her to even put it forth. She can't even put it forth. It's not even allowed to do that. That's the first opinion. والثاني هذا لا يجوز لها ولكن فعلت وهو وافق فعليه الوفاء. The second opinion is the opposite. It's not allowed for her to do that, but she did it. She said it anyway. And the man agrees. So since he agrees, they take the generality of those narrations that the believer fulfills his oaths, any oaths. The believer fulfills his covenants, any covenants. Like that. So they differ. Some say he has to fulfill it. Some say he doesn't. What we say is it's best not to enter yourselves in the light of those contracts. If it's not from Quran and Sunnah, if it's not allowed, then what are you agreeing to? Why put forth something that you don't have the right to? Why agree to something you don't have the right to? So if your conditions you're going to add, if you add conditions, no problem, but they have to be from Islam. Right? Our sister says, is there a specific act such as feeding the poor, fasting that needs to be done along with Tawbah? If it's a covenant that you violate, an oath that you violate, then yes, you have to, if you have slaves, you have to free them. If you don't have any slaves and you have the ability to fast 60 consecutive days, 2 months, then you have to do that. No. Alhamdulillah. طيب. That's it, ya ikhwan. So we'll stop for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. Our sister says, not just an oath or covenant with the Zawj or Zawja, but also with Allah. Like if you promise Allah to read the Quran and you miss a day, what is the act? No, same thing. If it's a promise, something like that would be better not to bind that upon yourself. This is what the scholars are saying. With promises with Allah, it's better not to do them. It's better. Instead of promising, oh Allah, I enter myself into a covenant, a mithaq between me and you, oh Allah. If you do such and such and such and such, you allow me to get better, I promise I'll read the Quran every day. If you do this, I promise to do that. It's better not to do that, not to say the likes of that. Just do it. Don't enter a contract between you and Allah. It's better not to. Because what happens is now Allah gives you what you ask. So now that thing that was not obligatory on you before that now becomes obligatory. So the man says, oh Allah, if you bless me with this new car, if you free me from this sickness, this disease, this health, this illness, oh Allah, I'm going to go over 10 juz of Quran a day. So now Allah frees him from that, restores his health to good health. It's obligatory upon him now. It wasn't before. Now it's obligatory upon him now to go over 10 juz a day. And the moment he falls short, he broke the covenant. So he has to fast 2 consecutive days. He has to free, if he has any slaves. He has to feed the poor, 60 of the poor. Some scholars differ. Do they have to be Muslims or not? The strongest opinion is that they can be non-Muslims, they can be Muslims, but it's better if he knows 60 poor Muslims. His reward is greater. Some scholars say you have the right to choose which order. The correct is that you don't have the right to choose. That the first is that you have, if you have slaves, you have to free them. And then if you don't have the ability or you don't have any slaves, you have to fast 2 consecutive months. And then if you can't do that, then you feed 60 poor people. You don't just choose what's easy for you. The man that has wealth says, you know what? I'm just going to go out. I'm going to feed 60 poor people. No, you have to come in the order. At any rate, they differ with regards to that. But now look at the covenant that he has to do now. Firstly, he has to do what he said. If he breaks it, now he's in a more severe situation than the first. Now it's obligatory upon him to free his slaves. Have some. If he doesn't, it's obligatory upon him to fast 2 consecutive months. Many of us can't even fast 1 month. Many of us can't fast a week. So now he has to fast 2 months, back to back, if he has the ability to. And then, if he can't do that, he has to feed 60 poor people. And it has to be a meal, not a snack. What's considered to be a meal Islamically. Doesn't have to be the Red Lobster meal. Some of our women, they love the Red Lobster, the Applebee's. What else? IHOP. Everyone has what they like. I like IHOP. This one likes Applebee's. This one likes Red Lobster. This one likes Wendy's. Everyone has what they likes. That's not the issue. It has to be a meal. So it has to feed 60 consecutive or 60 poor people from the Muslims or the non-Muslims, preferably the Muslims. Our sister says, is that for each day you miss? That's a good question. So if you miss 2 days of reading the Quran, you have 4 months of fasting or 120 people. Some scholars say yes. Every time you violate, yep. Some say no. You violate, you didn't fulfill, you have to fulfill the one expiation for that first violation. So before you get to the second violation, third violation, fourth violation, you're still on the first. You have to fulfill the oath, the expiation of the first. But some say yes. The hadith is general. So the point is, that's why it's better not to do it. This is what the scholars are saying. Instead of doing all of this, now it's obligatory upon you to do that. It wasn't obligatory first. You made it obligatory on you. So it's best not to make a promise. It's best. Just do it. Do your best. Because now it's binding on you. It wasn't binding on you before that. Our sister says, is there any way to absolve the covenant? Allah, I've never heard, never learned there's any way to annul your promise or absolve the covenant. You entered into it, you agreed to it, now you're in it. If it's a marriage, if you mean covenant by marriage, yes, the woman can ask for khulur, the man can divorce, if you mean like that. If you mean a contract, other than that, then the answer is no. Wallah. All right, so this is what we'll say there. This will conclude our class with our beloved mothers and our beloved daughters, our beloved sisters. Inshallah ta'ala, may Allah increase you all. فَنَسَبْتُ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ وَإِنْ أَخْطَأْتُ مِنْ نَفْسِي. Anything that we said that's correct is from Allah. Anything that we said that's incorrect is وَأَكْرَمَكُمُ اللَّهُ. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister says, this is so beneficial and heartwarming. Allah bless you. Our beloved brother Muawiyah, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, we'll stop on anything that we said that's correct is from our Lord. Increase your all and make beneficial knowledge. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our brothers online and our sisters online, this will conclude today's class. And may Allah honor you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.